This week we're dedicating it to Nigeria. We're dedicating it to our expectations. We're dedicating it to activities that have happened since this government got into office. And that's why today we're looking more at the discussions that we're having, which is 100 days of President Tinubu in office. And that's what we're discussing today. My name is Oluwakayode. We're having this conversation. We have eminent Nigerians, professionals, people who with strategy and research base, who are joining us virtually today. One from Otta, the other from is it somewhere in Akwa Ibom, I believe, or is it Cross River? We'll get the confirmation definitely. But our guests are joining us from the south and the southwest today. We've gone as far as the north to bring you this conversation. 100 days of Nigeria. What do Nigerians feel? The Guru is with me definitely in the studio as we go ahead with this conversation. The Guru, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Oluwakayode. How are you?
Doing great myself, doing great. And 100 days, President Tinubu, yesterday, a day after the 100 days, now we are already talking about election petition.
I would always take my own perspective.
Definitely.
Into any discussion. In the first place, I want to be grateful that we are alive discussing this. Today, August, which day of the month?
The 6th of August, 6th of September. 6th of September.
We are in September
already. Yes,
not
sir.
August. Why would August be rebounding in my... Okay. Today is 6th of September.
Yes, sir.
Today will be 101 days of President Ahmed Bola Tinubu on the throne. And today be the 101 days after the man has sat comfortably on the seat as president, having issues a lot of executive orders, having played this role as a leader, having emerged as the chairman of ECOWAS, shaking hands with prominent businessmen all over the world in India, heading to the United Nations Organization to attend the United Nations Organizational Assembly, judgment of who and what about the election that brought him to the seat as president is being delivered
today. Yes.
Today. That's after 101 days. Him being in the sandal. I looked at it as a very, very funny way of Nigerians doing their things. We are peculiar people. Because when I looked at it, then the discussion we are having this morning is worthy of it. Because which angle are we going to take it from now? And that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu could travel 2 days ago.
Yes, sir. 2 days ago. Monday.
For a celebration that is kicking off on the 9th. Because what he has traveled to India for will be on the 9th and the 10th. But he left 3 days ago. And meaning he's going 6 days ahead of the event.
He has a series of meetings. He was supposed to meet somebody today, which was later changed to yesterday. Business meetings.
No, what I'm telling you is this. He is already in India.
Yes.
He's in India already. He went there 6 days ahead of the meeting. Because the major thing is the meeting. But he therefore arranged to meet some very, very successful businessmen to invest in Nigeria, which is not bad. I'm not saying it's bad. The fact that he left here 6 days, today will be 3 days of his departure. And today he knew the judgment is coming today. That he should be out of the country arranging for multi-billion businesses that might come to Nigeria to raise the economy of Nigeria. Could it be deliberate? Has it gotten anything to do with it? But our discussion must continue.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's go ahead.
That's it. And let's introduce our guest with us this morning, all the way from the South. We have Mr. David. David Umem is the founder and of the African Children's Aid Development Foundation. And that's joining us from Akwa Ibom, Uyo, I believe, and also all the way from Ota. We have the vice chancellor of the number one university in Nigeria as we speak, and that is in the person, the university, Covenant University. Unfortunately, Covenant University doesn't have the name like other universities. You know, when you talk of is it University of Lagos, you say University of Choice, University of Ife, you say University of University of Lagos is University of First Choice, Ife. You know, you have different names, but even with that, Great Ife, you know, so without those, you're still the first university. Well, let's welcome Professor Abiodun Adebayo. Good morning to you, and good morning, David Umem.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kayode, for having me. It's my pleasure to be here this morning. It's interesting that to know that you are saying that Covenant University doesn't have what its own
appellation. Yeah,
I must say that it's that's not true.
Oh, okay.
That's not true. We are taking the lead. We are taking the lead. That one, it's an appellation, and that appellation goes down the way to define who we are. Thank you so much. So it's my pleasure to be here this morning and to participate in this discussion. Thank you.
All right, sir. And David O.M., over to you. Morning to you, all the way from Uyo, I believe.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Oluwakayode. All the way from Eket this time.
Eket, all right.
Eket, the oil city in Akwa Ibom State. Yeah. So thank you for having me. And just to remind you that Covenant University is one of the leading private universities in Nigeria.
It is.
And when it comes to raising entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, they have it, and I give it to them perfectly well.
You're sounding like a proud.
Yeah, just to correct OM, it's not one of the leading private universities, but one of the leading universities. In Africa. Thank you so much.
Exactly. Well, let me add to that. It's the leading university in Nigeria right now, according to the Times, higher education.
Not just the private.
Yeah. All right. So we're both here, and like I said, we have the Guru in the studio. Definitely, he's a veteran journalist. He's a father to us in the media, and he's with us in the studio. The Guru, sir.
Yes. Where are we taking off from?
Well, from where we are, 101 days.
You are in charge of this vessel that is going on the high sea for voyage of discovery. So where are we heading? How are we taking off?
Yeah, it's important that we look at what has happened in the last 100 days. Most of the time, one of the reasons we included education is because most of the times when we talk first 100 days, we often focus on the governance, on the economy and security. But the truth is that how do the experts, the technocrats, the academia, how do they feel when it comes to the performance of a president? Is there any trajectory, any plan that shows that we're about to breed a people that are more focused, more educated, more informed? Those are the things we want to look at. So we have the best from both sides. We have a top researcher and a biochemist, I think, I must say. And, who is at the head of a university at that level. And we have also a lawyer and who has dedicated his time to the children and education, mainly in the grassroots. Let's start with the grassroots. And, we're used to saying from top to bottom, but now let's go from bottom to top. So let's start with the grassroots here. And David Umem, first 100 days, education-wise, how does that sit with you? What has been the impact? Do you see any proof from the government that they are really interested in transforming education? Do they appear to be a government that understands the educational needs of Nigerians?
Well, a 1,000 steps starts with one step, and for the 101 days of His Excellency, President Tinubu, I would say I will say it's starting well in a way, and I would say it's a sweeter, sweet bitter experience. He has got a huge challenge. He came on board to see, and that can actually hinder his starting up. But you should understand that in this first 100 days, we might not at the moment be able to judge him with what he's doing. But when you look at few signs like the student loan bill he has signed into law that would give young Nigerians who want to go to school the opportunity to apply for a loan and go to school, you could actually give that a kudo that's the right step for average Nigerians who are not privy to funds for going to school. And for the issue of the Minister for Education, who is a professor, actually, but that's where I have a little difference with him, because you cannot subject your body to a mechanic to operate your body for cancer. It must be somebody who has deep knowledge. When I mean very deep knowledge on the academic sector, that should be brought to lead the Ministry of Education, because it's very vital. I must tell you the truth. Education is the bedrock of any government, and the person that must saddle the responsibility must be someone who is enormous in terms of vast knowledge of education sector, the challenges, the problems, and where we need to go. But in looking at those two areas, the student loan bill and the minister, like I call it a sweet bitter, is actually going fine, but he's making mistakes. And I hope from moving onward after the judgment for today, I think moving forward is going to correct one of those few things, because tribunals gives on stability. And Mr. Guru was talking about it traveling to India. It might be in a way just to relieve his tenseness for the judgment. Okay, why not let me go to India and sit there to listen what's possibly going to come out from the judgment, rather than being in Nigeria and face the tension. So all of those things are part of everything we are saying. But looking forward, let's see how it's good. But for me, it's a sweeter experience with most of these policies and things he has brought on board.
All right. And that's it. You said he's made some mistakes. We'll get into that. The Guru, you want to respond to something where you're still laughing?
I want to ask a funny question.
Okay.
Not necessarily to get an answer that might address this issue, but are you saying, as a deep researcher, that what President Bola Tinubu has done now is a temporary jackpot to cut off tension for this period of what?
Well, every contestant that in the last election, whose judgment might either be in favor or not, is actually feeling the tenseness at the moment. I must tell you the truth. Everybody is feeling it from every side. So in a way, some people don't have thick skin. Some have thick skin. Some say, I will remain here and listen. I will watch it live, as it's going to be zoomed live. Some will say, okay, let me stay somewhere. At least I can better off listen somewhere than being in Nigeria to listen to. It all depends on how you look at it. It all depends on how you see it. But I think that's how the president knows better. I think India is a better route to feel the heat, whatever comes out of it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. And let's go to Otta now, where we have Professor Abiodun Adebayo. And we'll come back to you, David Umen, because you said you made some mistakes. We'd like to understand which mistakes those are. But, Prof, one of you has been chosen to transform the educational sector. That is one of the big steps. Yesterday, a committee was also set up by the president. We'll get into that to look at. I don't know if you've really got into the details of that as at now. But beyond that, the committee was set up, the student loan, president promising that we will not have a 4-year course, will be a 4-year course, nothing more. The strikes, the threats of a warning strike by ASU, and all that comes with it. The first 100 days. In your view, Prof, how has it been?
Again, thank you so much for having me on this program. And it's my delight to be here and to be joined by the veteran journalist here present today and our astute lawyer, David Uwem. Thank you so much. Well, for me, the first 100 days, Uwem had mentioned that it's a bittersweet experience. It's really a very wonderful one. But I must tell you that it has not been an easy one for Nigerians. I think with truth must be told, Nigerians are really suffering. Particularly, the students are getting the heat. The universities are equally getting the heat. What do I mean? Now, it might interest you to know where the student loan that had been brought upon, it's a welcome idea, and I will support that. But I want to believe that putting the cart before the horse is not the best way to approach this. We need to fix our infrastructures in the university for learning. Well, okay, are you providing the loan, and yet the learning experience will be at a very dilapidated state. Most of our public universities are in sorry states. So how do we get to fix that? We need to provide quality education. I'm an advocate of the fact that quality education is not cheap. It must be paid for. But what I expect government to have done is to have been able to fix those infrastructural deficits, so that the learning experience for students will become a very good one and will be comparable to what is obtainable in the world, globally. But that has not been fixed, and we are bringing this. I think we need to check that very well, so that the student loan can also go well as had been intended. The other thing I want to also bring to our fore is that, many schools with the recent fuel subsidy removal, schools are now operating like banks. UI, for instance, is now going to be having 3 days of lectures when that is a bad one, a bad omen for Nigeria and for the government. Government need to wake up. How can a university be 5 days is not even enough, where we have proper learning, and now faculty and staff will now be coming to teach students for only 3 days. It's all over. I think that one, to me, is not a good one. UI is not the only one doing that. I think there are a couple of other public universities, because of the economic situations in the country. I would have preferred that government put all of the palliative measures, including the universities, provide buses, provide access, provide all of this, even before introducing the fuel subsidy that has really changed, the condition, the economic condition of Nigerians. That, for me, government need to really look at that, because increasing the fuel price by 300% or even more, and without also considering the impact on education, the impact on the society, the impact on the economy, I think government need to really look at that. Well, President Bola Tinubu has been taking the bull by the horn, and he must be commended for that. But again, I think the approach needs to be different, by looking at it, by fixing what needs to be fixed first before jumping into the other one. And on a very lighter note, you said the president has jackpot. Well, I think for me, it's also a good way for him to just take a very calm rest, noting that he has equally worked very hard for the past 100 and maybe 100 days or 101 days, as it were. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Prof, for that. You want to go? All right.
Prof, you've spoken well.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, but there are some questions that I will draw your attention to as the discussion continues.
All right, sir.
But I feel we are... Well, it might as well be so strategic, because this is not the hour to speculate. Because if you look, I'm looking at the screen now, the panel, they have taken their seat, and every person is ready for the judgment. So it is not an hour for any seasoned Nigerian to go into speculation of either it might be this or that, because that will offend the principles of the court. But we should not forget, I'm just delving this into it as we are talking about education. So you who are holding the windows of education might be able to include it in the enlightenment you are bringing into this discussion within the next 45 minutes or so to say. We should not equally forget that whoever that there's going to be only one winner today, and there are going to be about 2 or 3 losers today in this matter. Whoever loses or whoever wins, there's still another window of 60 days at the Supreme Court, because the law provides that after the first panel advancing from the Court of Appeal, then the Supreme Court has 60 days to look, sit upon the matter and give judgment, which will be the final judgment. Because after the judgment of the Supreme Court, it will be judgment of God, which might not necessarily be coming into this matter because God is not going to deliver judgment on the world because of Nigerian elections. So now we still have 60 days to go. Now, if it goes, I'm not being speculative, in favor of the president, on his return, it will be a greater fanfare. Then the whole airport, Abuja, Lagos, will be knocked down with professional sycophants that will be singing. So he deserves this time to really have that rest. But because the man is doing a very good job of lobbying for money bags all over the world to come and invest in Nigeria, whatever time he might be able to take off as a rest time, I think he deserves it. Right. But questions will come to you later on the matter.
So Prof, to you now, you said one of you has been appointed as a minister. And how does that sit? Is the choice of a current Minister for Education the best choice? The fact that he's a professor, should we expect a transformation? Or should we have looked for maybe researchers, technocrats, and not just that understand the entire gamut of education? Because a lot of times in Nigeria, when we talk education, we appear to focus a lot more on the universities and the secondary school. Can he handle the transfer or deliver the kind of transformation that we require as a people?
Yeah, again, thank you so much. For Professor Tahir Maman, who had just been appointed as the Minister of Education.
Yes.
And who was the immediate past Vice Chancellor.
Yes.
Until his appointment, he was the Vice Chancellor of Bayes University. And don't also forget that he had served as the Director General of the Nigerian Legal Education Council. And so, if you look at those trajectories, he was there for 8 years as a DG, and he transformed and did quite a lot of things within the legal sector. And he brought a lot of changes and a lot of dynamism into that. I want to believe that it was through his tenure that we have this multi-campus, legal schools spread across the geopolitical zones, and that now catered for more lawyers more lawyers that who go to the legal school. Now, having said that, we want to believe also that having garnered all of these experiences and having a very foothold on the university education, which is the prime in terms of education, and having gone through the 4 walls of the university, we hope is going to bring in a very transformative education, the kind of education that we want even as a nation. We hope that it's not just going to be effort to not just be concentrated on this universities alone, but it will spread across all of the both the primary, the secondary, and including all tertiary educations. But don't also forget that there is still, the ASU strike, and 8 months' salary is still being owed that the government is yet to really pay. So these are some of the challenges that he's going to be confronted with. Now, we should also look at the enrollment in schools, particularly in if you look at the enrollment of girls' education within the geopolitical zones and in primary school, secondary school, and all of that, there are a lot of, disproportionate enrollment. So these are issues he's also going to be battling with. Don't also forget about the infrastructural deficit in schools that he needs, particularly in the government-owned schools. We expect him to, make access to education for all. We expect him to ensure that education for all, particularly at the primary school and secondary, and basic needs of the student, of the pupils, are equally taken care of. The teacher training, if I may ask Kayode here.
Yes.
And maybe our erudite journalist in the house, if you compare the kind of classes we had in those days, who were groomed from the teachers training colleges, you can compare them with those ones that just finished secondary school. They are highly disciplined, highly intelligent, even without an NC at that time, not even a degree in the university or in education. Highly intelligent people. But how many of them do we have today? Dropouts are now the one teaching our children in the schools. People who are not even trained to even man such positions. I think we need to begin to reflect on those issues. I think these are some of the challenges that the new Minister of Education will need to also confront. The North, the South, the enrollment in all of these areas will need to be taken care of. And the full implementation of the 6334 system of education, and where education is meant to be free at the primary level, and even and it has to be qualitative enough.
All right.
Thank you.
It has to be qualitative enough, not just having access to it, but the quality is of importance.
Yes.
The Guru.
Yes, Prof, thank you very, very much. In fact, with your erudite way of tackling the matter, you've just given justification again to Covenant University as being the place of leadership. Number one leadership, at least in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Or is it in Africa?
In Nigeria, number one. Eighth
Then
in Africa.
one of the leading...
Okay, seven, not eight. 7 in Africa, yeah.
One of the leading ones in Africa. And by that implication, I cannot stop by saying one of the leading ones in the whole world. So thank you very much for doing justice. You spoke to us, you tackled the area of, in those days, those good days, when they were without even the university degree, but discipline was there, and the education was education. I want to throw this in. Probably the researcher may be in appropriate place to pick it.
That's David Umem,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, David,
Yes, sir.
please, let's have your thought about a few things here. Your thought. One, education, we talk, the university is the prime, the pinnacle, is the zenith. But education will never start from the university. It would have come from father, mother, giving some knowledge to their children before kindergarten, before the nursery, before the primary schools. Now that we are talking and we have emphasis being laid at the prime, at the top, is that where the rottenness of education should be looked and tackled, or we should go back to the beginning and start from the beginning? It's a question we want to have your thought about, please.
Okay, thank you so very much for once again having me here. First, let me start by saying federal government issue basically is to institute policies that every other levels of government can follow when it has to do with education. But I must tell you the fact that implementation of those policies somewhere like Amineket local government now, this is the bedrock, this is the basis where the young people come from and enter from primary to secondary, like you said, is a step. What happens here in this primary school, in a local government where I'm from, has a very serious effect on what will happen to a child that goes to secondary school and finally goes to the university. But one thing I must say about bringing up the university issue here, there are two criteria I feel federal government need to do. For example, our unity schools in all parts of the country must be a model that federal government can always boast of. That look at our unity secondary schools here. State governors, why not follow this level of schools in your domains? We go to universities too. For Christ's sake, it is really absurd that private university can even learn to even compete with a government university. Government university should always take the lead in a sane society that every other university must follow. You must have to show government university as, okay,
an example.
This is a model every university should follow. That's where sane society. That's how sane society works. Now, come back to our secondary and primary schools. I must tell you the truth. It's actually not the duty of the Minister for Education to know what's going on in the secondary and primary schools. Our governors, in real sense, have failed us. Because, of course, most schools, most of the states have not even domesticated the Child's Rights Act into law in their different states up to now, up to this moment. Most states have not. Most states don't even have structures in their primary schools, in their secondary schools. That's not the duty of a Minister of Education. Let's go back to our governors, and most of they get allocations every day, but they don't take education as a priority. So it is now back on the media to always highlight most, or let's highlight most of these governors, let's highlight most of these local governments where all of this, the tolerating nature of our educational system is from. That is why I feel they can sit up. But basically, if you don't have a good infrastructure in primary school, good teachers, remember what happened, I think in Kaduna some years back, where El-Rufai had to sack and ask most of the teachers to apply again, and serious scrutiny was done about it. Most people actually criticize it, but someone like me who believes that any teacher, like Prof have said, must worth being a teacher. You cannot do what you don't have. The level of recruits today in our secondary school is man no man. If I don't know you, I cannot be employed in primary school. I can be employed in secondary school. And if you give somebody who is not qualified to teach, what do you expect? He or she can never give what he doesn't have.
Okay, so please.
Apart from the federal government, let's go back to the roots.
Okay.
The issue of the level of deterioration should be blamed on our governors.
Okay, please, let me quickly throw this in.
All right.
It's part of expanding your thought for us.
Okay.
Are you saying now that if education must be revolutionized for the interest of the people and for the factors and goodness of education to be maximized, the local governments and the state governments are to be held more responsible to tackle this, as against looking, because every Nigeria is always looking at the federal government, where federal government is not even supposed to be involved. Are you saying more attention should be thrown to the local governments and the state governments?
100%. For example, I tell people, to get to Abuja today will take me 100,000 naira. But to get to my local government here will take me 200 naira. Which one is better? In fact, of course, we all know the recruitment level of our leaders in local areas is 100% poor. You give leadership to somebody who doesn't even have any knowledge about leadership. Local government chairman should have the task of making sure that all primary schools in his domain are working. Local government should make sure all are working. The Commissioner of Education through his task force team or whatsoever, will now get reports from the local government. Because no matter how, for example, in my state, you cannot come from Uyo and monitor what is happening in somewhere like Etimepo. It is the local people in that domain must be accountable of every level of thing that is happening in their domain. Okay. These are things that are not happening. In fact, most recently, my governor was saying that every chairman should go to their local government and reside instead of coming to the state capital to reside. Most of them don't reside in their local government capital. In their local government, they reside in the state capital.
We thought it was only in Lagos.
I thought it was only in Delta State. I never knew.
So how would you even know what is happening daily in your local government when you're staying in the state capital? So this is the problem.
Okay. Go on.
Well, all right. And you've said a lot, and this takes us to Prof. Coming to you, Prof. With all what David Umem have said right now, what is the constitutional responsibility of a federal Minister of Education? And really, how, with what the government has done in the last 101 days, has that been a proof of a government that, first of all, understands the challenges of education in our country, and have they shown a body language? That word, body language, or that expression is very important. I mean, it was very important in the last administration, the body language of the president. So, the body language of this president, has it shown, does it prove somebody that really wants to transform education? So, like 3 questions in one.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Wem, for those insightful thoughts. But let me also mention here that if you look at the minister, particularly the federal ministers,
yes,
they also have a responsibility at the secondary education that are within the government public. But however, as a minister of education, whether you have an direct oversight insight or not, it is your responsibility also to ensure that the right policies, the right framework, the right regulations are made that will cut across all of the sectors, all of the governmental arm, whether the local governments, at the
states, all the tiers of government. Yes.
So he is there sitting at that hem of it. So it is now the responsibility of whether the commissioners of respective states, of commissioners of education in their respective state, to begin to handle those ones that are within the government, maybe government schools within the states. But for the unity schools, it is purely the responsibility of the federal government. So it's good we mention all of this. Then again, we must also say here that whether unity schools, whether state schools, whether whatever schools, government schools, community schools, the story is the same. The story is the same everywhere. We've also seen a situation whereby students or pupils learn under the tree. They stay outside because of dilapidated infrastructure. So these are things that the new minister will need to look at to entrench the right policies. For instance, there is nothing stopping the new minister to begin to review some of those, to review the current challenge or challenges confronting the education. The review means that you are also trying to also provide solutions. Now, for instance, if you get to all of the universities, I'm familiar with the university education, so I'm going to be, my examples will come from that.
Understandable.
Now, are you aware that there have not been any lecturer employed during all throughout the last regime of President Muhammadu Buhari? You
mean for 8 years, no lecturers were employed?
Yeah.
At the public universities?
At the public universities.
Okay.
At the public universities. So what the Vice Chancellor will do is to do a palliative measure, get them at adjunct level in order to fill up the quota.
And what was the reason for that?
Well, I heard it's on an embargo on employment. that's at that level. So they have not, and there are scarcity of lecturers at this point. Now, the government also introduced the IBPS now at that level to help, and that is also it's a way has helped to streamline some of those dirty practices with the university. So that's also a welcome development, even though ASU is still kicking against that, even though there are also fundamental issues with the IPPS and all of that. But however, we are saying here that a situation whereby lecturers will not sit down to equally do their work is also a major and is an issue. Sit down and deliver quality lectures, still using your old notes to lecture in the 21st century. Some of them they don't even know how to even use ICT. They don't know how to use PowerPoint. They don't know how to prepare PowerPoints for presentations. They are not aligned. They are not even in tune with the current realities in our education. So these are issues that our minister will need to begin to also address. Now, coming down to your question now on the body language. Well, the body, like I mentioned earlier on, the Tinubu administration came out forcefully to begin to implement this, came out with a policy on what's it called, the student loan, and which I earlier mentioned that is a welcome development, but I feel all of the things that needed to be done should be done first before full implementation. And by the way, Kayode, are you aware this is not the first time this is being introduced?
Oh, yeah, of course, yes.
It's not the first time.
Yeah.
So I think we must also be sure that we do not have it go into moribund. Let's also learn from the past mistake. Why did we even stop it in the first instance? What are the lessons that we can learn from the previous implementation? So what are the lessons are we able to learn? So how are we able to avert such? For instance, a situation whereby, among the conditions for repayment and the payment plan within the, student loan had said that maybe you start paying after 3 or 4 years now. So an average Nigerian, let's be realistic. How realistic is this? When you finish school, you go for NYC, and at the same time, you may not even get a job until the next 10 years. So how would you get the money? So I think we need to just face the reality. How are we able? Otherwise, it will be part of the kind of
jamboree,
reporting futility, where government is just dashing these people this money and may not be able to repay that. I think we need to begin to look at that. These are things the government may need to look at. Take a second look on the workability of the student loan. If you are going to give them the loan, they call it grant, let it be so, and let it go around all the Nigerians, instead of giving, the palliative measures that is not going around and all of that, and it's being shared at that level. Now, I'm aware that each state was giving about 5 billion naira to cushion the effect of the fuel subsidy. Now, how many of them were really distributed across these schools that we are even talking about? It's not just buying rice. So we expect the governors to equally buy buses, have buses that will convey these pupils, primary school people, to their schools. Implement policies that will equally favor them to learn very well. Yes, it's a palliative, may not be able to go around, but at least have a model one. If you may start within the metropolis, you may also choose to go to the villages and see how this works. I think there are better ways to really do this. But if we must also say that how much all of the 30% oil derivation that we allocated to maybe UM State, for instance, how many of them are actually devoted to helping the schools and to rebuilding the schools, to helping the teachers, to employ teachers? To me, I think we are not serious yet. The government is really not serious in implementing a very good standard for the kind of education we want to see in our countries. So I've traveled wide. Sometimes when I went to the immigration somewhere in China, and I needed to, get my residency sorted and all of that. So the police station I saw there, was welcoming. Everywhere in a decent environment. In schools, public schools, they are of a very quality standard. So what are we talking about? You go to even Rwanda here, everything is working, but why is it not working in our country? I think we must be intentional in our way. We must be intentional and make genuine commitment towards rebuilding our nation, towards rebuilding the educational infrastructures in Nigeria, towards rebuilding, making education a place where everyone will want to go to. Sir, the new syndrome now is that education is a scam.
Disinterest.
So I can sit at home and engage in, an online business that may not be genuine, Yahoo, and all of that, and I will make my money. So what are you talking about? So instead of deceiving me to go through the 4 walls of the primary school, 4 walls of the secondary school, and at the end also go through the university. At the end, I can't even find a job. So is that not a big scam?
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your erudite explanation once again. But while on this, I want to allocate just 1 minute to each of you. Tell us, is there anything you want to recommend differently about this system where going into the universities, you sit for examination at JAMB? The cutoff mark from Ogun State, where the leading university is, will be different from the university situated in Kutuweji or Katangura.
Let's even give figures. When during the discussion some weeks ago, I went through the cutoff mark, and I realized that some places, I think Sokoto, the cutoff mark was 7.
Yes.
Whereas in Anambra, it was 138.
Imo, Deta.
All those. Yes. In Kaduna, it was 12 and 14, I think. Sokoto, the cutoff mark for women was actually higher than that of men. Women was 8.
God bless you. So, but because, now please, I will promote it from 1 minute to 2 minutes, but not exceeding that. For each of you, is there anything wrong with this system? Does that not classify that this is either second-rate citizen or first-class citizen? More so, where at the end they will all meet at the center at the civil service where they will be engaged to serve. Is there anything you want to say about it, and a recommendation you want to make about it? Prof from Ogun State, please take the lead, but no more than 2 minutes.
All right, sir. I'll make it very brief now. So thank you so much. I think this is part of what we are saying, and that has brought us into this realm where we are as a nation where we consider quota system, a nation where we use different criteria to bring in some things because we want to correct the things of the past. It will further discredit us. It will further dampen the kind of quality we want to see in education. So it is not the right policy. I think that policy needs to be addressed. But particularly when you are using that, that's why we have the state schools. There'll be state universities, for instance. If that has to apply to that area, but not at the federal level. If the state universities are created, our own and all of that. So at that level, we can begin to look at those criteria to bring, because it is the university is established by the state, and as such, we must find a way to bring our indigenes into that, but not at the federal level, where we have the list, we apply list envelopes, states and all of that into all of this quota. It will further, but overall, I think we must create, a level playing field for everybody, irrespective of where you are from. Whether you are from the north, whether you are from the south, whether you're from the east, whether you are from the west, I think the same criteria should apply, particularly if it has to go at the federal level. But if it has to go through, if it is at the state level, we may begin to look at those criteria to begin to look at how our people will come, but not without also looking at quality. Thank you.
All right.
David,
Umem, yes.
Umem.
Yes, thank you. I think basically that's the burden on Professor Tama Mahmood that is coming. The current Minister for Education. That's the burden that is placed on. See, I've said it here that federal government has to put in policies that even when a common man sees it, he understands this is a good policy. For Christ's sake. Anybody that goes through JAM, for example, and has up to 200 in JAM, consider that person at least average student or a little bit average. When you have 200 in JAM, then talk less of reducing JAM to a level that you don't even understand. I know some schools that take JAM up to 100. Some take 70 at their cutoff in this same country. How can and all go to the same university? When they all of them come out from university, how can you compare somebody who has better in university and the other person who just smuggled himself into the university? And you know this country very well. These are the same people that will have the best places in the country. People that had very, very low rates in schools. But how do you then expect them to bring out something good? You can't put something on nothing. It's practically impossible. Like Prof said, there must be a standard. It must be a policy that the current Minister of Education must correct. Everybody must pass through and fixed cutoff point for every university. In fact, depending on the kind of course you want to go and read. So I think that's my take, and I subscribe to what Prof said, that there must be a standard and we must follow that standard.
Okay, thank you very much. Please, the two of you, please, I'm seeking your indulgence to allow me to throw one question in again, not more than 2 minutes each person. In all sincerity, the established researcher, the established VC, how rotten is the Nigeria education system? Please be very, very sincere, first of all, with yourself, before the public, in giving facts of judgment. How rotten is the Nigerian education system?
So we start with David Uwem, since you were the one you just ended now. Go ahead, please.
Okay. For me, honestly, it is very, very... It's a situation that we cannot... I don't have the right adjective to qualify it. I must tell you the truth. First and foremost, like I said here, our teachers, most of the recruited teachers today are not even worth being where they are today. They are not worth it. And you cannot employ a teacher that does not know anything to teach and you expect something. It's practically impossible. The level at which we have meshed this country educational system, Prof said, other countries you go to, you see fantastic things are working in the education system. And if things are not working in your education system, don't expect any other thing to work. Absolutely don't expect any other thing. So for me, I don't even have the right adjective. But the truth of the matter is, things have gone from worse to extreme bad, if I can use that adjective. And we need an overhauling in our education system to get it right. For example, let me also add one this. For me, I would advocate that teachers should have, even from primary school to secondary school, whatever way you want to be a teacher, you should have like a law, the Nigerian law school, where all lawyers trained from university will have to go there. Even if you don't go there for teaching, go there for exams. Go and pass through that exam. If you can pass through that exam set by a national body, no matter where you've passed, even if you pass through university, because we know our public university is not working. That's the truth. The result people get from public university is they cannot, even most students cannot defend those results. So there must be a kind of an institution where you must go for exam, especially in primary schools, which is the basic. Secondary school, you must go for that exam. If you pass the exam, you're not worthy to be called a teacher. That's the same way. Even when you see lawyers now, that the way lawyers are, the institution is very high-tech, and of course, it's because the institution do not want to belittle the level of the Nigerian law school. That's where you see where the standard is like this.
But let me throw in a question in addition to what you just said about the body, a monitoring body. In Nigeria, apart from the associations and the teacher unions, we have the Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria, TRCN. Yeah, Teachers Registration Council. Are you saying that is not functional? Because that's supposed to regulate even any teacher before you are allowed to practice. You should be a member, a certified member of that council. Are you saying that doesn't happen right here in Nigeria right now?
Let me ask a simple. Let me answer by asking the question. The primary school teacher in my village here, does he have that certification? That's the question. It's not. Frankly, these bodies are there. Are they working? No,
but they are not functioning.
They're not functioning. I'm saying that before you could be qualified to be a teacher, since all of these institutions have messed up and it's not working, let's look for a unified body. Every primary school teacher that has been recruited, even in the local government, must pass through an exam that is a national body exam. If you pass through the exam, then you're qualified to be a teacher. Without that, we're going to continue messing up the old system like it is at the moment.
All right. Thank you. No, Prof.
Yeah, it's done 2 minutes. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for the 2 minutes.
Prof, let's go.
Prof, please, can we have your opinion?
Thank you so much. Well, let me write on what he said, in terms of retraining and training and getting the right certification and all of that. That's good. Yeah, but sir, let me ask Kayode.
Why only Kayode? Why only Kayode you're asking?
If you go to write the work you wrote maybe about 20 years ago or 15 years ago, will you pass the exam now?
Okay.
Don't let me answer on radio.
That's what I'm saying. Because one, you have left that realm. But it has been said that any certificate that stayed beyond 5 years and has not garnered a kind of workshop or training certificate, will lose its worth. That a certificate has a lifespan of just 5 years.
Wow. So, but do we operate that in Nigeria?
It's of course we have not been doing that. That's why capacity building becomes very essential. Okay, how many persons are being trained again by government? How many of them attend seminars or workshops or conferences where they listen to newer ways of doing things? It's not just being certified once and if, for instance, just because you are a medical doctor and suddenly you turn a politician, if you allow such medical doctor to give you an injection, you will just die flat because he has not been practicing. He has not been practicing for years, and that is exactly what really happened. You are doing your job now and you are doing it effortlessly and no constraint. You have mastered the art because you are in current tune with the realities of your industry. So also the teachers, they need to be trained. They need to be retrained part time. So that's exactly what I want to see our educational system evolve into. It's not just acquisition of certificates. It's not just acquisition of certification and all of that, but we must also train our teachers
continuously.
And again, we must also understand that credibility it is. You were talking about the rottiness of the Nigerian education. It is very rotten. The rottiness of the education is as a result of the societal rottiness also. For instance, in the universities, particularly the public one, not a covenant. You try that, you fire you. Now, handout, they sell handout. I remember when none of us passed through the public university system. Handout, this lecturer will insist that you buy this handout, and he will even attach assignment to it where you will have to submit or a question or a test to the handout. And if you don't buy that, you will fail. Now, how do we see that? Now, where you have to sleep for grades and all of that, or for sex for scores and all of that, that's still part of the rottenness. It is really rotten. Where you say, I rub my back, you rub my back, and you will get on with it. So that is rottenness. I think these are things we must begin to correct. It has really decayed, and government need to be sincere about it. And you cannot give what you don't have. That's the truth. If you can't be a rotten person and you want to also institute, holiness, they will point at you, say, "Oh boy, if I saw you, we both went to that joint yesterday. So what are you coming to preach here?"
Thank you.
I think we just need a total cleansing, a holistic cleansing of the educational system.
Thank you very much, Prof.
Whereby if you truly deserve a second-class degree certificate, upper degree result, that's the kind of result you get.
Thank you.
Whereby if you are a first class student, you got that. It's
All right,
not that
Prof.
you are chasing
Thank
that.
you very much, Prof. Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
All right, so Prof, I often like, this is not the first time I'm interviewing you, but every time you address the issues frontally, but you're very subtle with your punches. You're a kind of, if you were a boxer, it will be easy for you to knock out your opponent because you don't see it coming. And one thing you raised, the one topic you raised today that is very germane is the fact that while we're talking of palliatives across board, we hardly ever consider that we could actually give direct palliative to universities to ensure that in the midst of all this, education continues unabated. Education and the quality is not stopped. So that is a critical thing that we believe that the members of government that are listening to the program right now should consider. The state should consider it for the universities. The federal as well should consider it. Just give palliatives directly to the universities. If we're talking of corruption in governance, we don't expect our professors and lecturers to be as corrupt, though they're a member of the society. So we expect that you'll be able to give account of the palliative that you get. Right. But moving forward, yesterday, like I said, the president, we need to read messages and pick up because Nigerians are, or what we can do that by 10:30, sir. More messages and calls and do that for like 30 minutes.
Sports market, sports business.
No, that's yesterday, Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can extend this conversation. But of course, I know Prof he has a very tight morning. He might have to leave us pretty shortly, so I do appreciate that. But just this question: the president, through the Minister for Education, Professor Tahir Maman, set up an 8-man committee to review education in Nigeria. Let me go to Omem for this question. Now, if you were asked by the president to say, just like he did with the tax team, bringing in a very young lady, a student, if you were approached by the president and he asked you that, okay, what can we do to transform Nigeria, education in Nigeria, which policies would you like us to introduce to really transform education such that it is more effective? What would be your advice?
Well, my advice, thank you. Simple. Funding education. Education in Nigeria is poorly funded. I must tell you the truth. Funding is basic. And like the Prophet said, and you guys have both said, if you're corrupt and you're the seat of power, there's every tendency that virus is going to spread all around the system. Our institutions too must be able to be held accountable for every dime they are given in the institutions. You cannot just be a VC, for example, like we always say, within 2-3 years, you're a multi-billionaire, and the school you are superintending on is dilapidating every now and then. It doesn't connect. So even if we say, let's have a good, let's have a proper funding for education, what about the people who are procurement, spending the funds? What are they doing with those funds? So there must be some level of checks and balance. And frankly speaking, the society of Nigeria today morally has decayed so much. In fact, you will hear young people now say, at the moment, they will tell you, I'm looking for the least opportunity to also be in power so that I can also get rich. So the virus has gone too deep into even our young persons that they are aiming to be in power because they also want to get rich. Why? Nobody is held accountable in this country for every mess he has committed. So even if you pour out billions into the education sector, Nigerians still don't trust the system. There must be serious level of checks and balances. In fact, the people who have superintended on our funding in this country must be held accountable. If I see that this person was held accountable for certain things, I will sit tight and I will say, okay, let me do the right thing because I might also be called one day to be accountable for everybody. But literally nobody in this country is held accountable for every mess
All right.
You've
gone through. Now, let me just chip this in before I go to Prof. Okay. And even before that, I haven't announced this enough today. We're actually live on Facebook right now. You could see our guest, David Umem, and of course, Professor Abiodun Adebayo of the Covenant University. That's the VC of Covenant University. You could actually see them and enjoy the conversation live on Facebook at Lagos Talks 913. At Lagos Talks 913. I've been so engrossed. I haven't repeated that all through the day. But you are more of a grassroots person, moving around, getting into the nooks and crannies, places that Prof might not have time to go, get to. You get involved in all this. Now, what really do you see on the ground as the biggest challenges that confront education at that level of education?
Well, in our local communities, I feel the major problem we have is children coming out to school in primary schools. We have good millions of out-of-school children at the moment. When you go to rural areas, for example, in fact, let me start. One of the reasons why we introduced School Farm for School Meal, there's a project we introduced last year called the School Farm for School Meal. It's just like the same thing, homegrown school feeding program of the federal government. But there were some serious disadvantaged communities in the state that we needed children to come out to primary schools. We now introduce what they call School Farm for School Meal. You know, in this part of the state where I am, you have big acres of land in every primary schools, and those lands are always left
uncultivated.
And the rest like that. So we had to use those land, cultivate, teach the children basic agriculture, use what is from those schools and feed the children. The project was funded by the Denmark Embassy in Nigeria. So, and you know what happened? The project was to target 1,500 children. But before we could finish the project, more than 5,000 children in those local communities where the schools we were came out to
school. They enrolled.
So from 1,500, we were targeting to more than 5,330 something that we had at the end of each term. Children coming out from school. So in most of these local school primary schools we have, people don't go to school. That's the truth. Children don't come out for school. So federal government must be intentional about their attitude in education in those primary schools. And I've said it here, it's only the policy that we need. Our state governors must be receptive. They must be deliberate about making sure that education is transformed in their different domains. The local government chairman must do the same thing. I said from 1,500 targets to more than 5,000 children coming out to school. Because you know what? When I go to school, there's a meal that school they will serve in that school. All of them came out. Imagine this was replicated in all the primary schools.
In all the communities.
The communities. How would it look like? That means there must be people who come out to school. So that's one of the things I feel the federal government, the homegrown school feeding of federal government was actually in a way not successful. I must tell you the truth. There were some serious state communities who nobody was fed in each of those schools. And those are the lacuna we saw in those areas that let's inject these things. And injecting it almost we got serious advantage and
in one sweep we had 5,000.
Yes, in fact the project was successful that the Danish government is planning to scale up the funding from 1,005 because they need so many children to come back to schools.
All right. Okay, so Prof, now when you look at the education of our educators, that is the teacher training colleges, one would wonder really, what are we teaching them? What is the state of our teacher training colleges? That is on one hand. Then the second hand is, when you look at who trains the trainer in Nigeria, in a lot of schools globally right now, early year education is key because that is where you sow the seed for the future of every human being. But how many schools in Nigeria are engaged in early year education? How many schools offer? I know your school is focused more on entrepreneurship activities and the economy. But in Nigeria, what is our focus on training the teacher and the early year education? Do you discuss it at your level, university level at all?
Thank you so much.
So hold on, I think the guru wants to add a
please, Prof. Permit my interjection just for 2 seconds. I was going to explain that what David has shown, sponsored by the Danish embassy,
yes,
which now brought the number from 1,500 expected to over 5,000,
yes,
is the food. The return back, come to school, the farm is there, it will produce food for you. I think Prof. Sister University in Umaron is one of their lead ways, because every person there, you must have portion of farm. If I'm not right, the Prof will tell
correct.
You. So go ahead now, go ahead.
So you can link the two, please. Go ahead, Prof.
All right, thank you so much. Talking about teachers, training, colleges, and that appears to have gone into moribund. And so what are we doing? Honestly, those days, what the erudite journalist will mention here, he said the good old days, where you go through that school alone, you will know that you will be properly trained as a teacher. Those days when you go to that school, well, I was not privileged to go to that school before the transformation of our new model of education. You go to that school, you can be sure that competent persons are the ones handling that. So what I want to say and advocate is that our teacher training colleges will need to revamped, be revitalized, that we cater. Yes, NC is there where they give national, it's the National Certificate on Education. So, and that certify all primary school and secondary school teachers. Yeah, I think we need to go a step further, so that the kind of acid tests and assessment tests done previously that became a public outcry by the then immediate past governor of Kaduna State will not also resurface again. Is that we need to design a model whereby maybe every 3 to 3 years, teachers will be subjected to tests. But before then, allow them go through some capacity training workshop that will be manned by professionals within the national certificates on education, the federal colleges of education, state colleges of education, who are well trained to deliver such model, who are teachers themselves. Mention earlier on, you don't give what you don't have. If I want to become a pilot and I'm going to be training under a farmer, or will I end up becoming a farmer or not being a competent pilot? So it's nice we have all of this. Yes, the one who is training needs some level of training too. I think it's all, we must be able to balance these sides so that the kind of curriculum you are delivering, the kind of content you are delivering is equally in tune with the 21st century. ICT, because everything has gone ICT. That's the truth. That's the truth.
All
That's
right.
the truth.
Okay.
It's either we come up to understand this major fact that both the trainers, both the learners must constantly be engaged in forms of capacity building.
All right.
That I must say here. Yes, Owen had given great insight to great things that they are doing over there. You see, the truth is that, we must begin to plan our education in such a way that it is not the way we delivered it 5 years ago, 10 years ago. We are equally delivering it now. We must, you graduate, you have several levels of graduates coming out every year, hundreds of graduates every year in Nigeria, and yet you are not creating jobs. So you must also find a way to make them job creators. And that's the entrepreneurship dimension that Covenant University has brought on board. That every of our students go through that model.
All
the
right.
model you mentioned in Omarontu is also a model to instigate them to begin to think agriculture. I have my student, who was my project student. here, graduated a couple of years ago. Before he went, he came in with a proposal and said to me, he said, sir, this is my proposal. Please help me go through it. I went through it. I said, fantastic proposal. I said, but you say what? Go and ensure you finish your study well. And this proposal will sell any day, anytime. But do you know that proposal gave back to Tribe Agric now? The guy went into agriculture, got a lot of international bodies, UN,
FAO,
and all of those international agencies that help to, cater for small scale farmers. They give him grants and set up these farms and ensure that they grow some certain crops. That is what they are also using in sustaining the kind of food security that we are all having issues with today. But I can tell you, he has employed over 200,000 of persons.
Wow,
that's a lot.
That's it. You
That's
can
a lot.
Google Tribe Agric now, Tribe Agric, and as I speak to you, and check.
All right, Prof.
The product here. So what are we talking about? It's working everywhere. Instead of you come out of school and you are parading your certificate and they are tossing you here and there, you can become employers of labor.
All right, Prof. It's good you said this, and you see that it's good you stayed a bit longer than, because I know you should have gone on to attend to other things, but allowing you stay longer, not just giving you free publicity. But I'll still send you my invoice later on. So that I can pay for the publicity on Tribe.
Now, how much are you paying me for also bringing it It's very easy to bring a BC here.
It's not easy at all. But at least management can hear that I tried. So it's good enough.
Yeah, I'm sending a signal to your management now.
Thank you so much for that. But as we wrap up, the Guru will have the last words. But just before you go, there are talks about discontinuing JAM. And you look at where we are right now, that there are so many access roads to getting quality education. A lot of people do online. A lot of people do, short courses. There are private universities right now. There are, foreign campuses setting up in Nigeria and in other West African countries. Nigerians go to West African countries to study, and they don't need JAM. So what is your take on this, Prof? Should we, as a matter of necessity, considering the time, you just said we shouldn't run education the way we did 10, 15 years ago. Is it time for us to pull the plug on JAM, or is JAM still relevant to Nigerian education?
I want to say here categorically that everyone you put at the helm of affairs will determine how such organization will be. If the leader is corrupt, you can be rest assured that everybody, maybe a reasonable percentage of that place will corrupt, and that will also affect the organization. Now, without mentioning any word, in the last 5 to 6 years, we have had the best JAM register. I'm not saying, because no. Professor Oluwakayode had brought sanity to JAM. Whether you are, and I know what I'm talking about, even as Vice Chancellor, he has brought sanity to the operation of JAM. You see, everyone crying now that they should scrap JAM and all of that. Maybe JAM has jammed them, and maybe Oluwakayode, I hope you are not part of it.
No,
JAM. And that's why you are advocating for it. You see, the truth is, we must regulate. Which was what, now we now have a central admission processing system that nobody, not even Vice Chancellor, can utter. There is nothing like all VC's list again. And that's the truth. Because we want to, now at the beginning of, maybe when JAM, there is usually a policy meeting. As soon as JAM administers his exam and everything is ready, then they call VCs. Now VCs submit your JAM score. What do you want? What I usually do, I check how many persons do I want to bring on board, and what for the quality am I looking at? How many students are we ready to take as new intakes? Then I set my score. Now I can tell you my score here is minimum 200 for this. Now I can tell you now that there are 2 persons. The admission is currently ongoing. Persons with 282, they have not been able to secure the admission in Covenant University.
With 282 or 32?
82, yes. So I'm telling you, so it's because of the quality of candidates we are looking out for. And may I say it here, my son is coming in here to covenant you. You want to study computer science, and I'm saying in public, he scored 257 in JAM, but he won't get it because I will not.
Your own son,
my own son, my logical son, but my own son. That's the kind of the person I am, and I will never change anything. And I told him, go and look for any other ICT related course and let me know. And he came, he said, okay, I said, you won't get it because you are not qualified. And he said, okay, you want to study management information system. I said, fine. So, and that is it. So that's the kind of person, so the person at the helm of appeal determines how the ball plays. So, Professor Oluwakayode has done very well in introducing that central admission processing system. And you see, if a person crying may not understand because they are non-compliant people. And I think we need such persons at the helm of JAM. We should not scrap JAM because it helps to sanitize it and it helps to control and regulate the admissions of people. Now, if individual persons begin to do that, how do you also check on the data that we have? How do you also bring control? How do you also bring sanity into the higher education system, particularly getting admission into polytechnics, into colleges of education, and into the universities?
Prof.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for the time you spent with us. Because I learned you must go away now. Because like as
I should have gone away since.
No, because as we remarked, it's not easy having a VC here. Please don't go away until you answer this question in 30 seconds. Is there relevance? Is there the relevance of a National Youth Service Corps? Is this still mandatory, or would you say it has outlived its utility from the beginning, 1972, from the beginning?
Now,
your recommendation in 30 seconds.
Thank you for asking me that question. The original intention of NYC has been bastardized.
Okay.
And combined with a lot of challenges.
Yes.
It's no longer meeting the original intention. It's for proper integration.
Yes.
National unity.
Yes.
Somebody from here will go, will you allow your son to go to Bama, for instance, and do NYC? And if they change, will you not influence him to come to Lagos or to go to Port Harcourt and Abuja? So
thank God that can be.
By influencing that, you have distorted the order.
Thank you.
That is not right. And anywhere an order has been distorted is no longer relevant any longer.
Thank you very much.
Ministers who have their children want to serve in a particular place. That has also distorted the order.
Yes.
So for me, it can be reclassified or reorganized to face the kind of reality we are now. But if otherwise, so be it, and it will be scrapped.
Okay. David, in 30 seconds, are we to keep on with this moribund, according to the description of the professor now, called National Youth Service Corps? What's your recommendation in 30 seconds?
Well, the same way Prof has said, a person in the arms of affair can actually correct, like he mentioned, Professor Oluyemi in charge of
Oluyede.
If we have the same person in charge of NYC, those flaws can actually be corrected. It all depends on who is at the helms of our affair. But if we don't have it and the process has been distorted, then there's no need to go about it. But if we have somebody competent who can come and rekindle the system and make it work, then it ought to be.
David, you are on this answer, you are just an average student, neither here nor there. But all the same, thank you very much. Prof, we want to appreciate you. We want to appreciate you. Thank you very, very much. But let me just tell you before you depart that
thank you so much.
My last born was the Covenant many, many years ago. And he came out very, very well. And where he is now, he's doing very, very well. And he's being applauded. So I return that to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's what we are doing.
Maintain the quality, please.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure, sir.
All right, so thank you so much for that. Prof, do enjoy your day. We'll reach out to you afterwards. And David Umem, thank you a lot for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving me the privilege to be here.
All right, sir. So it's time for Nigerians to give us some feedback. Let's interact with you. Let's hear your voices this morning. You've had the conversation. You've been a part of this dialogue all day. And let's have you speak to us today. 0809-234-5913. 0809-234-5913. 0809-222-0913, and our women only number 0809-191-3913. We will have an extended version till 11, and just to get feedback from you, our dear listeners. Let's start with a conversation, or rather, let's start with some voice notes this morning, and I hope it has to do with education.
Good morning, sirs. Mr. Oluwakayode and Baba Guru, your day is blessed.
Amen.
Baba Guru, this is Philip from Lawansin.
Okay.
The truth you always stand for, we count you worthy at the end of the day of judgment.
Amen.
Amen.
Baba Guru, you have said it all. Nigeria is a peculiar place. We do things, I don't want to say in our normal way. Don't want to say in our normal way. It baffles me the way we do things. Election has taken place. The INEC chairman said, if you doesn't please with it, go to court. Which supposed not to be in the first case. Now case is in court. In the way Nigeria do their things, president have been sworn in. I've enjoyed the amenities for more than 100 days now. Enjoy the benefits. Now court will now come and say you are not longer the president. It may happen in Senate client, not Nigeria. So anybody that is hoping that the table will turn around, let them forget it. Because all the things that might have transpired secretly or crook by hook, we doesn't know. He's now the president of the nation. So every parastatal, they are under him. And you know how Nigeria goes in doing things in their own way. So anybody that is saying is expecting any good thing to come out from it, unless God want to perform his miracle.
My name is Timothy. I'm messaging you from Babuleja right now in University Youth on behalf of Unilag students. Police force have been putting students in Black Maria since morning now, taking them away from the school access. So right now, as I'm talking to you now, please, if you can just get any information about it right now, sir.
All right, thank you for that, Timitokwe. That's your name. I say police have been harassing students along the Unilag axis. We believe that the PRO, state PRO, Benjamin Udeng, is listening to us, and operatives of the police are. We do not believe that will be the directive from the Commissioner of Police. So whoever is in charge of the police, we kindly invite you to see to it that children are safe and not harassed. I mean, Nigerians are safe and not harassed. Let's take this call right now. Let's start with the conversation. Hello, caller. Good morning. Hello. Hello, caller. All right. Hello, caller. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, sir. Morning to you.
Thank you. This is calling from school.
This is who, please? Ubeto?
Ibeto, yeah.
Ibeto. Yeah, it's been a while. Let's hear you.
My brother, thank you so much. I listened and enjoyed the conversation very well. And the even from the professor. But I have a problem from the opening speech of the professor.
Okay.
Where we mentioned about the issue that it should cost more for our children to have especially on university education. That he who goes for that should be expected to pay more, which he said is an advocate for. My brother, I'm a bit shivering about that community. Why do I say so?
Why? Tell me.
Educated masses are educated to civilization. If you don't have a how can you have a well-educated person? In other words, it may sound like what the people around are saying, that yes, the education does not work. So, I don't know. I'm not trying to say that it should be cheap, but it should be relatively cheap, because we have had it relatively cheap. That is why many of our students, Nigerians who go abroad, to do very well. So if we don't have it relatively cheap, we don't have had this number of students who are really doing well outside the country. Secondly, my dear brother.
All right, in 30 seconds, please.
Okay, 30 seconds. Please, let's just know, because I just what I wanted to say. But then, they should help us. They should help allow the poor to breathe. Please.
All right, then. Okay, Ubeto, thank you for joining the conversation. It was a pleasure to listen to your contribution. Let's go to WhatsApp right here. Hello, caller. Good morning.
Oluwakayode.
Yes, sir. Morning to you.
Yeah, this is John Legend calling from
The man legend. How you doing?
Sir, I'm cool. Oluwakayode.
Yes, sir.
Let me tell you this. You know, I hate when people are playing games in this country and they are claiming that they are righteous.
All right, tell me about it.
You cannot be collecting money as a former governor. You cannot be collecting money as a former senator. You cannot be collecting money as one thing and doing another. And you are saying they are fighting corruption. Oluwakayode, it is not possible. If the Tinubu want to fight corruption, he should stop collecting money as a former governor of Lagos State, former senator of Nigeria. All those people that are collecting money, former, we are still paying them. When Ibori was in jail, he was collecting money as a former governor of his state. So what are you saying? So when you want to fight corruption, let's start from the head.
All right.
You cannot tell me that somebody that's fighting for corruption, we are still paying him. He worked for only 4 years, but people that work for almost something years have not been, none of their activity have been paid. So let's let them stop all this kind of nonsense game they are playing, please.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, John Legend. Thank you for your call this morning. The Guru.
No comment.
Let's go to the phone lines. Hello, caller. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning.
Morning to you, sir.
Hello.
We can hear you. Go ahead. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Hello, caller. All right, we lost that call there. Hello, caller. Good morning.
Good morning.
Peter Omonte.
Ogami.
How you doing?
How are you?
Not bad, my brother. Not bad.
I'm fine. The Guru and everybody, good morning there. Peter Omonte, like you said, from Shomolu. Your last speaker, whether that man was praying or he was lamenting about Nigeria, that what works in other countries does not work here. It's the kind of democracy we are practicing here. I want to join my voice with him and ask one question. Why is it that the way democracy is working in other countries is not working? Everything. Oil producing countries, life is better for their people. But here in Nigeria, Nigerians don't have their life because of democracy and politicians. Why is it that when other people are doing election, they get the result, they elect their president, but here we spend how many months now waiting for who will be the president? And the constitution make it, I mean, in a way that you now saying somebody, you carry post, give somebody, and you say we are waiting for who will win the election. I am just asking that question, Oluwakayode, is this how democracy works in other countries? Obasanjo told us yesterday that it's not working here. Kayode Fayemi has added his voice that democracy is not working here. So what kind of government can we use to work here and better the life of Nigerians? Somebody will come and steal, loot and go. No trial at the end of the day. He becomes a chief. They give him chieftaincy title. What kind of system will work for us so that we will move forward? They destroy everything the military has put in place. Democracy and politicians. We need to save ourselves from their clutches.
All right.
That's just my point. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you for your time today. Let's take some messages before we go on a short break. When we come back from our break, we will continue with our calls this morning. But right now, let's start with this message. It says, good day, Guru and K. Please permit me to digress a bit from the general discussion on education this morning and instead seek clarification about something. As you both know, the Presidential Election Tribunal is right now sitting, and the first thing that was done was an announcement of the various representatives of those seeking prayers at the court. I was surprised to see the embattled former Labour Party Julius Abure rise up to introduce himself as the national chairman of the party, representing the first petitioner. Hasn't the man been asked to vacate office and stop parading himself as national chairman by a court of competent jurisdiction? If yes, has he approached another court to the contrary, such that the status quo before the aforementioned judgment removing him is maintained pending the determination of his own prayers? The Guru. The question is for you, sir.
You call the Guru, then I call Coyote.
As the last lap, we have 8 minutes to wrap up the show, and we say thank you for being a part of it from 6 a.m. Definitely, we're ended day 3 of a 100-day review, but we will be coming back tomorrow with security. That is what we're focusing on, when we'll be joined by a retired U.S. Marine and founder of Bulwark Intelligence, Tanwa Ashiru, and of course a professor of criminology and strategic studies from the University, Alex Ekweme University. You'll be joining us also tomorrow. So it's going to be another packed season for us. Join with your messages, with your comments. Let's throw those questions to them. I know security is where a lot of us would like to discuss.
And permit me to add this. Agbajalingo.
Yes, sir.
Was to have supposed to have joined us since Monday. I think what happened was an error, which I will take responsibility for. And on Monday he phoned.
Oh.
He phoned. He will call us so that he could be added to the discussion.
Okay.
But because of the prevailing error, which I had already taken responsibility for, I did not pick. And I told him we would talk yesterday morning before going on air. Again, that demonic error occurred again.
Oh.
I did not call him. I will call him immediately after today affairs. But I can assure you, Agbajalingo is somebody we know all over the world. He's a prolific journalist. He's a man who speaks not only outside language, he speaks Fufudi fluently. The Jalingo wasn't just a mistake. The name wasn't just a mistake. And the man that either dealt with Ben Ayadi or Ben Ayadi as a governor dealt with him. Seriously.
But there was a dealing with.
There was a dealing with. And the federal government was to prosecute him on behalf of Ayadi for treasonable felony. And he was in detention for almost, I don't know, up to 6 months or 3 months, I don't know. And that time, his case was always coming up here, Lagos Talks, during the Guru. In fact, I brought Ben Ayadi, called him, he spoke with us here, Commissioner of Police, every person. It was one nasty case that did not do Nigeria too much good internationally. So, Agbajalingo will be our guest here this coming Monday, by the grace of God, to discuss the issue. Return to course. Is it a way of amending a way of amending adulterated democratic processes or totally evil? Wow. So Agbajalingo will pick the matter with us
tomorrow. Okay. All right, that's it. Let's take some messages here. Good morning, Daddy Guru and Big Sir K with the other on board. Please, can Nigeria be great again? In 1960, Naira had values. In 1960s, Nigerians as people have values. When last did you see the values and loved one another? God help us. 100 days in office. Nowadays, not chop and chop with mismanagement. They kill this Nigerian government. No good education system, no good security system, no good road, no good light, no good food, no job, poverty everywhere, and killing everywhere. Chai. Came from Songwater. This doesn't sound like him. That chai. There's a particular person that writes and does that every single time. So anyway, it's 100 days, so we won't probe further. Mr. Oluwakayode, you asked a very relevant question, whether Tinubu actually had a good disposition to educational development. From hindsight, Tinubu does not, considering how he dismissed all the professors in the Faculty of Sciences of LASU when he was Lagos governor, just because they agitated against his appointment of a newly promoted prof as vice chancellor without resort to procedure. Do you think a man who believes that worker with labor in vain, okay, I think
no, it's correct.
Yeah, believe that a worker, a worker will labor in vain, will realistically promote workers' welfare. That's Dr. George Ejetavo from Ojo in Lagos. Lagos talks, good morning. Things is not working or are not working in Nigeria and Africa in general. Africa is having a seminar about economy while Nigerian president who is fighting the junta in Niger, Restore Bazoum, chose to go for the same program in India, Nawal, for about education, while giving other region high cutoff mark, while the other region like North is being given low cutoff mark. Why at the end, the ones with low cutoff mark will be given a job? I think that is the reason we get wrong people in the system. Escort is saying that. Escort, okay. Let's take another message here. You say, good morning, Daddy Guru and Dr. Oluwakayode. The message, Uche from Bariga here. Temitope did not just mention harassment, but he emphatically said that they were arresting students and putting them inside Black Maria. Please, let's do something about this issue. Thanks. Yes, we informed the authorities. You know, when you are taking unlawful arrest is also more of an harassment. Or of harassment. That's why I use that, general word. Good morning, Lagos Talks. Oluwakayode, to answer your question on what it feels like for the first 100 days is to say the least disastrous and calamitous. I think I read this, it just sounds familiar. Calamitous economically and security, but instead of overlaboring this issue of subsidy and negative effect, and it was sent yesterday. I knew I could.
Maybe you go to the phone line.
Yeah, okay. Let's take one call from the phones right here. Hello, caller. Good morning.
Well, how are you, sir? Oluwakayode and The Guru. This is Chooks from Nigeria.
All right, sir, Chooks. How you doing?
Fine. I always send a bunch of messages.
I was just about to read your message. Go ahead, please.
You have the one now to answer this question.
Okay, 60 seconds,
please. For the president to step out of this country 5 days or 6 in advance for a conference or for assembly, does it show that the man knows what we are going through? And does it again show that he's a presidential manager? Because I know Joe Biden takes off middle of the night to attend conference and back to the state, especially when there are crises. So, when you talk about paying these people, Dari and Dodges Okaru too, they were receiving their salaries while in jail. So it is an animal kingdom that we have here.
All right.
Things need to change. I'm begging our youth. Thanks so much for having me.
All right, thank you so much, Uche from Kenya.
Begging the youths.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want to evolve.
The Guru, we need to bring this home. That's why I was rushing to read some messages there to get as many people involved.
You can read one message.
Yes. Let me see which messages we can read. Let me just close this. I'd opened Uche's message earlier on. Good morning, Oluwakayode. Good morning, The Guru. Election should not be the only template for determining who rules this country. Capacity and capability should also come to play. Imagine the president of a sovereign state saying a cabal is in charge of the country of which he is the president. What a shame. Alex Solomon from Isheri. 100 days where the only thing we have seen is an appeal by monarch that military should not replicate what happened in some West African countries, but fail to realize the pain Nigerians are going through due to bad governance on the part of our political leaders. To me, I feel they need to appeal to the politicians and not the military. Okay, quite a long one there. Okay.
Add the last one.
Yes, last one. All right. Dele from Lekki, you're lucky this is the last one. Tinubu should stop using this word Democrat to describe himself. No Democrat word is would allow DSS to detain a citizen without charging him to court. Power on my mind. Dele from Lekki saying that. The Guru. We're close to
right,
home.
We must appreciate everyone, and this is a very massive movement we succeeded in creating here. We must appreciate all of you that even have time, because every other person now focused on television, watching the tribunal, doing what they had been appointed to do, and doing it the best way. They are professionally qualified to do it. So, but for you who pay attention to us, we are very, very grateful. Oluwakayode, you've been doing a very good job since 6 a.m.
Thank you, sir.
I must appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
Because I expect you to load your head. Okay, here we are. We are now riding home. We want to thank you very, very much. Feromi, thank you very much for the camera that is on and working attentively. Please, you can follow me on X. Not X as pronounced and interpreted by Oluwakayode, but X as letter X. Is it a letter? Yes.
Yes, it is.
X as letter X.
Not EX.
Not X as EX, which only God knows why the mind of Oluwakayode have been affected to that. So follow me on X at Godwin_Buebu. Follow me Facebook is Godwin Etakibuebu. A page created in Facebook for discussion of matters like this is called Vetra Column. Please follow me there. You can follow me on my you can visit my website, which is www.godwintheguru.com, or my YouTube channel, which is just Godwin the Guru. There you can join partners of the Guru. Yes, the name should now be partners, because I can tell you that the friends have not been performing well, but I'm not complaining. I still have them as my friends, because they call me at odd hours, and I do things for them at odd hours. Go to Telegram, put your console on the search, type Friends of the Guru. It will prompt that, follow, and carry out responsibilities there. Kono will be coming on board tomorrow, on Friday, and of course on Monday we shall be meeting on other topical issues and the heavier ones. Until then, pick my advice, please. Keep yourself out of trouble. You don't need to go rioting or whatever the judgment of today stands, because there's still another level of justice, upper one, that has 60 days to sleep over the matter, think over the matter before giving judgment. After that, don't even go protesting, because that will be the final judgment of the court. God remains on the throne. Keep yourself out of trouble. Bye-bye.